If you're planning to migrate to Australia in 2025, this update could make or break your chances. On September 20th, major news was released that directly affects skilled workers looking at Queensland's state nomination programs, specifically the subclass 190 permanent residency visa and the 491 skilled work regional visa. But that's not all. Brand new migration instructions, also called MI guidelines, have been introduced, and they change the way applicants will be assessed and prioritised. Queensland has always been one of the most popular destinations for skilled migrants, with its strong job market, lifestyle, and opportunities for families. However, the requirements for nomination have now shifted, with new emphasis on in-demand occupations, work experience, and even regional commitments. Many people who were previously eligible may now find themselves needing to adjust their strategy or risk missing out entirely. In this video, I'll break down exactly what's changed, who qualifies under the new 190 and 491 rules, how the MI guidelines affect your application, and what steps you can take right now to stay ahead of these updates. Don't miss this breakdown. Subscribe to AUS Immigration and stay informed so you can secure your future in Australia. Let's dive straight into the details, because there's a lot to unpack. Queensland has just updated its visa nomination requirements for both the subclass 190 and 491 visas, and these changes are closely tied to the brand new MI guidelines, migration instructions, that were rolled out this month. If you're sitting there thinking, what exactly does this mean for me? Don't worry. By the end of this video, you'll have a crystal clear understanding of who qualifies, what's changed, and most importantly, what you can do to maximize your chances of success. First, let's talk about the subclass 190 visa. This visa is one of the most popular pathways for skilled workers because it grants permanent residency from the start. That means you don't have to go through the extra steps of transitioning from a provisional visa. You're on the direct path to PR, which is something almost every migrant wants. However, because of its popularity, the requirements are strict and the competition is high. Queensland has now refined its nomination criteria to make sure that only applicants who truly meet the state's workforce needs are given priority. So, what does that look like in practice? Previously, Queensland had a broad list of eligible occupations, but under the new system, they're narrowing it down to occupations that are critically needed in the state. Think health workers, engineers, IT professionals, teachers, and certain trades. The MI guidelines play a role here because they essentially direct the states to prioritise people who can contribute immediately to sectors facing shortages. That means if you're in one of these high-demand areas, your chances have improved significantly. But if you're in an occupation that isn't currently prioritised, you may face longer wait times or even rejection unless you can prove strong employability in Queensland. Now, let's turn to the subclass 491 visa. This visa is a provisional pathway, meaning it's not permanent residency right away, but it allows you to live and work in regional Queensland for up to 5 years, with the opportunity to transition to permanent residency later. The good news is, Queensland is putting more emphasis on the 491 visa as part of their strategy to encourage regional settlement. What that means is, if you're willing to live outside of Brisbane and commit to regional areas, whether it's the Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, Townsville, Cairns, or other regional hubs, your chances of securing a nomination could actually be higher than applying for the 190. One of the biggest shifts under the new MI guidelines is the focus on genuine regional commitment. It's no longer enough to just say, yes, I'll live in regional Queensland. They're looking for evidence, things like job offers in regional areas, study completed in Queensland, or family already living there. This change is meant to ensure that applicants are truly supporting the government's push to distribute skilled migration across the state, not just clustering in Brisbane. Another area that's important to understand is the point system. Under both the 190 and 491 visas, points still play a critical role. Age, English proficiency, work experience, and qualifications all matter, but Queensland is now giving even more attention to whether your points are backed by real, practical skills that the state needs right now. For example, someone with 85 points in a priority occupation and a job offer in Queensland may be preferred over someone with 95 points but no clear ties to the state. This is a big deal, because it shifts the balance away from purely academic or test-based achievements and toward practical employability. And here's where the new migration instructions come into play in a bigger way. MI guidelines essentially act as a federal-level steering mechanism. They tell states like Queensland which groups of people should be prioritised, whether that's healthcare workers, regional applicants, or people with strong ties to Australia. These guidelines are updated regularly, and the September 20th changes introduced new priorities. For example, the latest update emphasizes filling labor shortages in healthcare, construction, and technology. So, if you fall into these categories, your application will likely be pushed forward ahead of others. But what if you don't fall into those high-demand categories? Don't panic just yet. The MI guidelines don't exclude you. They just mean that you may need to strengthen your application in other ways. That could include improving your English test scores, gaining additional work experience, or even considering study in Queensland as a way to build stronger ties. Remember, migration is never a one-size-fits-all process. The key is to adapt your strategy to align with the state's current needs. Now, let's talk about timelines, because this is something everyone wants to know. With the new guidelines in place, Queensland is expected to process applications faster for those in priority occupations and regional commitments. However, if your occupation is not in demand, you may experience delays. This means that being proactive is more important than ever. Don't sit back and wait. Take steps now to strengthen your case so you're ready when the window of opportunity opens. Another question I hear often is, how will these changes affect international students and temporary visa holders already in Queensland? Well, the good news is that students who complete higher education in Queensland, especially in priority fields, are now in a stronger position than before. The state is rewarding people who have already shown commitment by studying and living locally. Temporary visa holders working in critical sectors may also find that their experience gives them an edge in the nomination process. One of the most important things to remember is that the migration landscape is constantly evolving. What's true today might change in 6 months. That's why keeping up to date with announcements like the September 20th update is essential. Too many people miss out on opportunities because they rely on outdated information or wait too long to act. By staying informed and ready, you put yourself in the best possible position to succeed. I also want to point out something that many applicants overlook: the importance of professional advice. While you can do a lot of research on your own, consulting with a registered migration agent can give you clarity and ensure your application is tailored to the latest rules. These experts know how to align your skills and circumstances with Queensland's evolving requirements, saving you time and reducing the risk of rejection. Let's not forget the human side of this journey. Migration isn't just about paperwork and points. It's about building a future for yourself and your family. For many people, moving to Queensland represents a chance for better opportunities, a higher standard of living, and a safe environment to raise children. Understanding the visa changes is just one step, but what matters most is your ability to adapt, stay determined, and follow through on your goals. Looking ahead, it's expected that Queensland will continue refining its nomination requirements in line with national migration priorities. This means we might see even more emphasis on regional settlement, further tightening of occupation lists, or additional requirements around employment. The key takeaway here is that flexibility is your best friend. If you're open to regional areas, ready to align your skills with demand, and committed to the process, you'll find pathways that others might overlook. Now, let me leave you with some practical steps you can take today. First, review the updated Queensland Skilled Occupation List and see where your profession stands. If it's on the priority list, fantastic. You're in a strong position to apply. If not, think about ways to increase your competitiveness, whether that's through additional training, gaining more experience, or exploring regional options. Second, make sure your documents are up to date, from English test results to skills assessments. Delays often happen because applicants aren't fully prepared when opportunities arise. Third, keep an eye on both state and federal announcements, because as we've seen with the MI guidelines, these updates can directly influence your eligibility. Finally, remember that this journey is a marathon, not a sprint. The September 20th updates are just one chapter in an ongoing story of Australian immigration. If you stay committed, informed, and flexible, you can navigate these changes successfully and move closer to your goal of living and working in Queensland.